Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Choda with another important update from Ignition Time. I'm further analyzing Larry Kudlow's interview today on Fox News, and he said some very interesting things that are worth highlighting, and I'll give you the current state of the stimulus negotiations and where they stand. So let's start by looking at what Larry Kudlow said. He said that the president's actions, the executive actions, have helped in his words, helped the market roar, because the stock market, as you know, has continued to go up. At the time I'm recording this video, the stock market is up 300 points, close to an all-time high, and it's been the highest it's ever been in the past several months, despite everything that's going on with the economy, which is very, very unusual. In many ways, I feel the stock market is completely disconnected from reality. So he said, because of the pro-growth policies, and he was, as you might expect, supportive of the president's executive actions. As you know, I've done extensive videos on this. The president signed executive orders that would allow the continuation of the unemployment benefits through the establishment of a separate program called the Lost Wages Assistance Program. And he did say, and he did criticize the approach from the Democrats, because when he was specifically asked about where the state of the negotiations stand right now, why don't you strike a deal? He said a third of what the Democrats wanted had nothing to do with the pandemic, and that needs to be stripped out. And he called it, I quote, a left-wing wish list. So here we have the partisanship that's continuing, and hopefully there are some signs of a compromise. I'll actually tell you towards the end of this video, there could be a potential sign of a compromise according to the Wall Street Journal. So I will report that to you as well. But what Larry Kudlow said is we would love to extend the Paycheck Protection Program. By the way, side note, a lot of these officials, they say payroll protection program, and I don't know why they make that mistake. There is no such thing called the payroll protection program. It's called the Paycheck Protection Program, and the payroll tax is different. So I find it interesting that the senior White House economic advisor says payroll protection program, and in fact it's paycheck protection program. He said we'd like to put additional money in for safe and secure school opening, which makes sense because, you know, kids are an important part of this. And he said the president is still open to direct mailing of the checks of $1,200 per person. This is extremely important because the second stimulus check, it's something that millions and millions of individuals are waiting for. It'll help pay the rents for August. It'll help keep the lights on. It'll help buy food. So everyone's waiting for the second stimulus check. And he said that the president is willing, but he said that we are willing to negotiate, but we are not willing to split the difference. Now, I did analyze U.S. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin's comments yesterday, so make sure you go back and check those out in the channel. The U.S. Treasury Secretary was also specific. They have a red line. They are not going to split the difference between their proposed $1 trillion and the Democrats' proposed $3.4 trillion. Remember, the Democrats wanted $3.4 trillion in the original version of the HEROES Act. They did come down to $2.4 trillion and said, let's meet in the middle. Based on reporting from Jake Sherman at Politico, they also came down from their requirement of $900 billion for state and local aid down to $500 billion for a year. And I believe the Republicans are only willing to offer 150. Some reports have said $200 billion. So that's one sticking point. The other major sticking point is the unemployment benefit extension, which is the major sticking point. So he said, we are willing to negotiate, but we are not going to split the difference. Let's watch the words of the White House senior economic advisor right now.
I would add the president's presser Saturday night, where he announced the executive orders, really helped the market roar yesterday. It was up over 350 points, and I think that's continuing today. We've had also good numbers on jobs, great numbers on the jobs report last Friday, but even more good numbers yesterday. And this morning, NFIB small business confidence was down a tad, but it's still holding a very high level. So the economy looks good, and I think the president has given a lot of important assistance to the unemployed and pro-growth measures to those who are working and those who want to go back to work. I think that's helping the story.
But are we talking about the best option, Larry? Fox News is reporting this morning, we just had our own Chad Pergram on, reporting that there's virtually been no communication between the White House and congressional leaders since the discussion ceased Friday afternoon. Can you tell us anything has changed on that front?
Well, what I can say is, as the president said yesterday, as Secretary Mnuchin said, we're willing to negotiate. We are willing to sit down as long as it's a serious negotiation. Thus far, it has not been serious. The Democratic numbers are way too high. We are not going to just split the difference. Meanwhile, if you look at their plan, Sandra, a third of it has nothing to do with COVID. Okay, it has to do with mail-in votes and harvesting votes and letting felons out of jail and things of that sort. It had nothing to do with COVID, and that needs to be stripped out. That's the Democratic left-wing wish list. Take that out, chop their number down. Look, there's stuff we would like. we would love to extend the payroll protection for small business. We would like that very much. We want very much to be able to put additional money in for safe and secure school openings. The president is still open to direct mailing of checks of $1,200 per person. Those are things that we could talk about, more than willing to, but the Democrats have to change their views, and they've got to be, show us it's a serious matter.
Now, that was on Fox News, and I will link you to that video in the description below. So definitely check out that entire interview on your own. Now, as you might expect, the Democrats had a lot to say about the president's executive orders. I did talk about the joint statement between House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and the Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer yesterday, and I will link you to that joint statement below. But here's what Senator Chuck Schumer tweeted. He said the president's executive order on unemployment benefits is put together in such a sloppy way that it'll take weeks or months for states to even implement. Millions could lose everything before they ever see a check. Republicans must get back to the negotiating table. I did do in my previous video, I did talk about different states having different levels of challenges. In fact, some states have said they cannot implement the $400 a week the $400 a week booster that the president has implemented. It's a lost wages assistance program. Some states have said that they will do it. Some states have said that they'll do a version of it, and other states just haven't commented on whether they can do it or not. Our system, our state unemployment system, is so different across the country, is so varied because there's no consistency. Some states are a little bit more sophisticated. Other states are really, really struggling, besieged with problems. Florida is one of those states. I did do another video where the governor of Florida basically admitted that the state unemployment system was set up in a way to pay the least number of claims as possible and to make it harder for individuals to apply, and so that individuals would give up. So you can see that the level of inconsistency across states is so significant that, you know, if you want to answer the question, I know you folks want the answer to the question, is it retroactive? The answer is yes. You're supposed to get the $400 a week going back to August 1st. Number two, when am I going to get it? The answer to that is it depends on your state. So I think all my viewers, all my subscribers, I'm asking you in the comment section below, let us know if you got the $400 a week benefit. In fact, you can say something like, got it, $400 a week, you know, whatever, Kentucky or California. Or, by the way, you won't get it in California because California has said that they are not going to be able to implement this. This is based on recent reporting, and I'll link you to that reporting in the description section below. So Chuck Schumer also went on to criticize the president's executive order on eviction moratoriums. He said the president's executive order on evictions doesn't even guarantee a moratorium on evictions. I did do another video on this because I analyzed that memorandum. He said, let alone identify specific funds to help people who've fallen behind on rent. It's less of an executive order and more of an executive suggestion. The American people need real relief. So, you know, what Larry Kudlow said is that states are in a position to increase the unemployment benefit. He said, if any state gives $100 in benefits, the federal government will provide $300 in benefits. This is well known by now. I've covered this extensively on my channel and you know about this by now. He said the Labor Department has put out a circular stating that they will help states in any way possible. In fact, I mentioned this in my previous video. The Labor Department has said that individuals will not need to reapply for benefits in order to satisfy this self-certification requirement. We will work with states to incorporate this FEMA requirement. Remember, funds from FEMA into the DRF, Disaster Relief Fund, and that contributes towards a $300 a week portion into the already existing weekly certification process. Individuals who are getting less than $100 a week in state UI are going to be left out of this because they don't qualify for the $300 a week federal booster. Also, there have been reports that this won't last for longer than 4 to 5 weeks. But more importantly, it looks like a lot of individuals may not get this at all because some states are having a hard time implementing it, despite what the US Treasury Secretary said. And he said people will start getting it in 1 to 2 weeks. Vice President Mike Pence said this should happen immediately. And Larry Kudlow also says this will happen very quickly, despite what they're saying. And remember, they are federal officials. They speak essentially for the country, if you will. But what's happening in your state, what's happening specifically with the software system, with the architecture in your state is going to be specific to your state. So talk to your state. So let's take a look at this segment where the White House senior economic advisor talks about the benefits with different states and what they are getting from the federal government. And in his words, they will help states in any way possible. The Labor Department will help states in any way possible. Let's watch.
Well, 2 points. First of all, we put up, GOP, Senator McConnell put up short-term extensions of unemployment, and the Democrats blocked it at least twice. So it's kind of silly to say, well, it's going to take a long time. They could have gotten that done a week or 10 days ago. Second point, the states are in position to increase the unemployment benefits. Remember, the $600 plus up that came out of CARES in March was administered by the states with the help of the Labor Department. The Labor Department has put out a number of circulars already saying they will go and help the states in any way possible.
As you can see, Larry Kudlow talked about Democrats, and he said that Democrats were blocking short-term extensions of unemployment. In case you don't know this already, the Republicans had proposed a $600 a week extension by up to 2 weeks. That's what Secretary Mnuchin said, and the Democrats rejected that because they wanted a more comprehensive deal and they wanted a more comprehensive piece of legislation as opposed to just a short-term extension. That was their position. Now, recent reporting from the Wall Street Journal suggests that the Democrats are open to restarting the pandemic relief talks despite a stalemate, and the White House wants to keep down the size of the relief package. So I will link you to that article in the description section below. And so basically, Trump administration officials and Democrats have urged each other to return to the negotiating table to craft a broad bipartisan relief package because the president has issued executive orders on jobless aid. So they want a more bipartisan legislation with more comprehensive benefits. And just to be clear, Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin has said that he believes states could start rolling out the $400 a week the unemployment benefits. They are not actually federal unemployment benefits because they are sort of being, there is essentially a lost wages assistance program. So it's not technically part of the federal unemployment benefits system. And he said that officials made clear that states could provide $300 a week in federal funds for unemployed workers without adding any of their own funds. So in other words, what the government has actually said is that even if you don't chip in the $100 a week, we'll make an adjustment and we'll still chip in the extra $300 a week. So I did this in a previous video. Larry Kudlow said $700 a week in federal benefits. So even if the state does not chip in the 100, but how do you get the 700 again? 300 average state unemployment benefits. This is average. Again, there's a minimum, there's a maximum. Where you fall depends on your application. 300 a week is average. Plus 100 takes you to 400, plus the 300 federal, federal addition with the DRF fund takes you to 700 a week. Now, what Larry Kudlow, what the administration is basically saying is, if the states cannot chip in the $100, they'll still get the $300. That's what's been reported. And so therefore, $600 a week is possible. And again, you'll have to qualify because those getting less than $100 a week won't get any funds. So basically what the president said was, the initial plan that was released on Saturday had envisioned a total weekly payment of $400 with states contributing $100. But the president said, and I quote, "We don't have to do that." He said that at a news briefing. He said, "So we'll see what it is, depends on the individual state." So the president is the administration is basically making some adjustments on the fly. And it seems like, according to the Wall Street Journal, these executive actions were designed to step up pressure on the Democrats, but they also highlighted the limitations of presidential power or, overspending, which is essentially controlled by Congress. And Mr. Mnuchin said, Secretary Mnuchin said, at any time they want to meet, they're willing to negotiate, have a new proposal. We are more than happy to meet. Thank you, everybody. I hope you learned something new. If you did, please click the like button below. Please subscribe and please enable notifications. If you want to get breaking news and alerts from us, get your cell phone out, send a text message with the word ignition or with the word time as a message to the number 70,000, that's 70000, and you'll get added to our alerts list. We'll send you alerts as and when we can about breaking news, and you can opt out at any time. You can also get added to our email list, and as long as you agree to a disclaimer, you can get emails from us, and then you can opt out of those at any time as well. We release videos at 2 p.m. East Coast time most days of the week. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you learned something new, please click the like button. Please click subscribe. Please enable notifications so you get instant alerts from us going forward. We'll see you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Thanks. Take care. Bye.